Today, I'm going to be going over the top 10 reasons why you should fuck a dragon. So, the number one question I get asked when I tell people about my dragon lust, which I often do, is how do you fuck a dragon? Well, that's simple, by being a dragon yourself. A better question, I think, is why would you want to fuck a dragon? A friend of mine once told me that being normal is just about being able to explain your differences. So, here we go. When I was younger, I was raised super Christian, and I took things super literally. Basically, I thought sex was bad. I thought having sex with someone was one of the worst things you could do. So as I got older, I think I basically tried to purge myself of all sexual desire, since chastity is looked at as such a virtue. But trying to quell my inner boner didn't work, it just popped up elsewhere. I had a boner of the mind. And what was my mind filled with? Well, fantasy novels and video games, primarily about dragons. I think that one of the reasons people get kind of squicked out by the dragon fetish is because they think of a dragon as an animal. But at least in high fantasy settings, they aren't really seen like that. Dragons are as intelligent as people, usually more intelligent than people. You can think of a dragon as sort of like a really powerful human who's transformed their body into a superior form. The whole point of dragons is that they're just better than people. They're stronger, bigger, armored. They usually have some kind of inherent and powerful breath weapon. They're usually immortal, or at least live for thousands of years. They're more intelligent, they're more magical. Everything about them is basically superior to humans. If you think about it from the perspective of a dragon, sex with humans is probably seen as bestiality. The other thing is I've always just kind of been a loner. I've always been kind of shunned, mostly for doing shit like publicly talking about wanting to fuck dragons. But that's beside the point. Anyway, I just kind of always identified with the whole dragon mythos, being a loner, living in a cave, collecting magical artifacts and other shiny things. So the idea of dragons is attractive. It's about power and superiority, and for me, it's also about identifying with them. So what about the actual physical part? Why would someone find dragons attractive on a physical level? Well, I think it comes down to conditioning, really. Beauty is not a universal thing. Every culture, and even different groups within cultures, have different beauty standards. There's some pretty strange stuff that's considered very attractive to the culture it belongs to. It just depends on what you're around. So because I've been so engrossed in fantasy for so long, I see pictures of dragons over and over. Well, there are beauty standards when it comes to dragons too. These are the common traits that you see in a lot of dragon art. There is a proper way to draw a dragon. Even if you aren't the kind of person to look at drawings of dragons all the time, you still probably know the difference between an ugly dragon and a beautiful one. I think a lot of dragon beauty standards come from Todd Lockwood drawings. He's one of the world's best dragon artists. He did a lot of art for Dungeons & Dragons books, and whether he realizes it or not, he draws very attractive dragons. Their features are very regal and interesting and proportionally pleasing. And on top of that, it's just beautiful art to begin with. A lot of dragon art mimics Todd Lockwood. So even in the professional fantasy artist world, there are standards for dragon beauty. And when you look at this kind of art all the time, you develop an eye for especially attractive dragons. I'm not even talking about this from a sexual standpoint, just from an art standpoint. So if you love fantasy art, you're already conditioned to find beauty based on these standards. Now add furry artists to the mix. There are some really talented artists who also understand these dragon beauty standards and draw them in a sexual nature. So I already identify with dragons and like them a lot. Then add that I find dragon art attractive for its artistic merit. It makes sense, to me at least, that I would be open to the idea of porn of it. At first I was a little hesitant to look for dragon porn because I was always told that porn is bad. Plus, yeah, it's weird, but it's not like it was completely offensive to me. I mean, the idea of dragons having sex isn't something new. It's talked about in fantasy novels. I remember a story where a guy falls in love with a dragon who's transformed herself into a woman, and then he finds out that he's been banging a dragon, and that's a crisis for him for some reason. Anyway, my point is I was already used to the idea of dragons in sexual situations long before I even knew porn of them existed. And then you find out there are whole communities of people who are totally into boning dragons. So I started looking at the art, and pretty soon that's the only kind of porn I even cared about. When you have any sort of sexual deviation, it's natural to ask yourself, is this bad? Who does it hurt? And I feel like dragon porn is some of the least potentially dangerous porn to look at. What I mean is, I just find a lot of human porn to be kind of demeaning toward women. Some people argue that that sets a bad cultural example. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's no chance of me thinking less of women if all I'm looking at is dragon porn. In fact, one of the reasons I like dragons is because there is less of a dichotomy between dragon genders. Female dragons are as big and powerful as the males. And who wouldn't want a dragoness dominating them? People always say that porn sets unrealistic beauty standards for partners. Once again, I don't really have to worry about that. I don't care what someone looks like. I'm not attracted to people for their looks because I don't care about having sex with them. And I think that this has led to a lot of good friendships over the years. Though I do run into trouble online sometimes because some people do have really attractive characters, but their personality kind of sucks, but you just kind of bear with it because, boner. Dragon porn is separated from reality by so many degrees that I really can't see a way someone could use it for evil, if that makes sense. The worst thing that can happen to you is that you get kind of mocked for it. But you can just own it and be like, yeah, I want to fuck a dragon. What of it? As Tyrion Lannister said.
Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you.